Hello and welcome to the podcast. We are the Cosmic Commentators, and we are here to take a look at all aspects of spirituality, religion and metaphysics.
Hi, it's so wonderful to meet you all. My name is Rachel. I'm here with the wonderful Alex. So please join us as we delve deep into the vast subject of life beyond the veil.
So Rachel.
Hi, Alex.
Hi. What are we talking about today?
So today, I thought it'd be a really interesting link to talk about the 144 chosen ones.
In the Bible. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because over the last couple of months, I've kind of heard a little bit of a different take on that. So I thought that would be, we start at that, kind of look at maybe how other people view that.
Okay.
And then I think that would lead us quite nicely into this whole new concept, relatively new in the grand scheme of things, of chakra removals.
Ooh, chakra removals. Yeah. Okay.
So it's a bit of an unusual link, but I think how we're going to talk through, I think it's a very tangible, focus. Yeah. So, I'm not sure how much, and you might be better kind of equipped to kind of focus on, the religious aspects. I mean, around the 144th chosen, I do know specifically around Jehovah's Witnesses, there was a lot of discussions around there was 144 chosen people on this planet and that they would ascend.
Yeah.
And then again, in a lot of the time, you can hear, obviously, Dolores Cannon speaks a little bit about this, not massively, but there is an element around that there is, we are those chosen ones, and it is those that will be able to ascend to the new earth.
Okay.
How people feel about that, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. Yeah. And I think for me, when I started to hear about the 144,000, I thought, crikey, that's a small number of us, isn't it?
Out of 8 billion.
Yeah, it's like
it's a drop in the ocean.
Minute. And also, again, I really struggled with the fact that there is only those that's a specific number, 144,000. But also, some of it talks around it's a specific race of people. And for me, how can we continue to evolve and have that diversity if only one specific race is going to ascend to the new earth?
Yeah, I guess so. I think the biblical talk of it is that this 144,000 are here to assist more than they will ascend and everyone else won't. I think it's more of a they will assist when God's wrath comes onto the earth, and these chosen ones are the ones that are more knowledgeable, that will maybe help the rest of the population understand what's happening, what is happening, why it's happening. I think that's sort of the sort of biblical the biblical talk of it. But I know that a lot of the Jewish people think that they are the
chosen
144,000 chosen ones, and then again the Jehovah's Witnesses, they believed that they were the chosen, God's chosen people.
Sure.
But the way I read it in the Bible, it is more of something is going to happen on earth, but the 144,000 will be the ones that assist, basically.
Yeah, and that
makes more sense, doesn't it?
That feels
right.
It feels, yeah. And it does feel, I suppose, a better concept that they would.
Yeah.
And there's lots of discussions. And again, we will talk about light workers, star seeds in another podcast, but it is about, those type of individuals that will help and support others to ascend to the new earth. And again, I think that's another podcast in itself. We start one thing, people, and then we move on. We think, we can come back to that. But yes. And that was really interesting. And I think I touched a little bit like what you said around the biblical aspect of it, but it still didn't sit with me particularly well. It really didn't. And I was listening to this particular guy. I think again, like everything I've said before, some of his stuff I really resonate with, others not so much, but Sancto Benacci. And when I heard his description of the 144,000, I was like, oh, ooh, that makes a lot of sense. So what he's describing is the 144,000 is actually a numerical value relating to our chakras.
Okay.
So what he's saying, if we multiply, so we add the bottom chakras and we multiply it with the top chakra, that will in essence produce the number 144,000.
Yeah.
So what he's saying, and again in Sanskrit, there is a numerical value attached to each of our chakras. So our root, which is our lowest chakra, is assigned 4. So apparently the petals around the symbol of the root chakra has 4 petals.
The sacral. Yeah.
Yes. So that's the root
4.
has 4. The sacral has 6.
6.
Solar plexus has 10. Our heart chakra has 12. Our throat is 16. Our third eye has 96. So maths isn't my strong point, but I think add all of those up, I think that would give you
144.
So then what happens is you multiply it to the crown, and the crown chakra has the numerical value of 1,000.
Oh, so 144,000.
144,000. And because obviously what they say is the more awakened or the more intuitive or spiritual we become, we move up our chakra system. So obviously the crown chakra has a direct link to source, God, spirit, whatever people choose to call that.
Makes sense, really, doesn't it? Because again, if you think of the fear, the root chakra, which is your fear and your survival mode, isn't it? Where you've got no connection at all whatsoever. And like you say, it's like working with the emotional scale, isn't it? The vibrational scale.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing, isn't it? It's very 100%. Very much the same.
And then when I heard Sancto's description, I was like, oh yeah, that works for me. For lots of reasons. I think, again, it is back to we are all accountable and responsible for ourselves. So we have the ability to ascend if we choose to.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Whereas I think when I was looking at the 144,000, it was very much external. This has been, shone upon you, whether you are a chosen one or not. Whereas for me, I'm very much more focused on actually, if you want to ascend and be a better person, reach your higher self, you have that ability.
Through working on yourself,
through working on yourself, through working through the chakras, connection. And you get the connection to the divine.
Yeah. Because I think that the other concept would be, it comes into that sort of realm of, oh, you're an NPC, so therefore you're not enlightened. And I think that's quite a dangerous sort of mentality to adopt, isn't it? Like 100%. It's us and them, and I think, we have to sort of think in unity consciousness, don't we? And,
absolutely.
And that's the way forward, I think.
Yeah.
So. And
that really interested me. And again, the more I read into it, again, this whole calculation of the chakras and that's what it's relating to.
So how did he come up with the numbers for the chakras? You know what?
So the numbers of the chakras. So each of our chakras has a symbol, a Sanskrit symbol.
Okay.
So, and they have what they describe as kind of petals around it. So because the root is the lowest, it's color red, but it has 4 petals around it.
Oh, so you're counting the petals.
You're counting the petals. And then obviously as you work your way up, so obviously you go from the root to the sacral, to the solar plexus, to the heart, throat, third eye, and then the crown. And each of those, they will have the number of petals around that will be related to that numerical value.
Oh.
So for me, that really kind of stuck home. It's really, triggered something in me. And I was like, well, that is really interesting. But equally, I know through, various experiences, how I'm very different depending on what chakra I'm tapped into.
Yeah.
And I think, and we were having this, we have a lot of discussion. We decided that we've been in our downtime, we should probably record it. So what we were saying was, and I think you made the point, and I think it's really good around the colors. So a lot of us, through suffering and through our experiences, we've kind of been maybe in a very fearful, stagnant position.
Yeah. Survival mode.
I think that's, yeah, absolutely. And that is the root chakra, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. I'd agree with that.
And when we're in the root chakra, everything feels very bleak, doesn't it? You're kind of, it's always about trying to scratch your way to the next thing, isn't it?
And it, for me, it also describes those layers of consciousness, maybe like, when you leave your body. So that red realm,
yeah,
like hell,
absolutely.
and then ascending up through the astral,
sure,
and so on. Is it as above, so below?
I agree.
And the very top is when you reach the highest.
Absolutely.
People that, again, we get back to near-death experiences, but have a hellish near-death experience, normally taken drugs or done something, suicide. So you're in that fear survival mode. So you'll experience that red hellish thing, and so on and so forth, all the way up.
Yeah, and I completely agree.
It's
and
all
you mentioned
symbolic,
as well,
isn't it?
It is. You mentioned, the devil as a color red,
and
I was like, oh, hadn't made that link before, and I thought that was really interesting. That's that again, everything is the devil, fearful, being controlled. It's all a really deep, when we're angry, the little emojis.
You see red.
But even in the emojis we have, it's a red face, isn't it? And I thought, yeah, absolutely. And obviously, as we ascend, obviously the colors change, and particularly when we're working from our heart space, it's a very vibrant green color. And then, for me, that's, I'm going to say this now. I'm now going to contradict myself, Alex. So green is love. Well, obviously the chakra is green. The heart chakra is green. But interesting, Valentine's Day, why do we use a red heart? Sorry, I'm throwing that out there.
Is that because, the blood, heart pumps the blood, and I don't know. Yeah, it could be like an angry Valentine. My angry Valentine.
So again, but Valentine is a commercial holiday.
It is. There's nothing spiritual in it.
Nothing spiritual. And I'm wondering whether it's specifically about using the red hearts. Again, we don't know. Might be something we need to look into.
Well, again, if it's sort of man-made, they can just pick any colour, can't they? And it's...
Why not choose purple?
Yeah, I mean, in the tarot, I think the Three of Swords, the heart's red, isn't it? That a red heart is...
It's what we've come to
it's
know.
Universal symbol,
it's symbolic,
isn't
it?
Yeah,
no, I get that.
Colour.
I suppose I've just gone off again on a wee tangent. Why is it red? Why have we chosen that? Yeah, but again, it could be, as you said, biologically, blood.
True.
But yeah. So
yeah, you can always just get them all removed.
Well, there we go. What do you think about that?
That's the most crazy, bizarre thing I have ever heard in my life, to be fair.
Do you know what? Well, actually, it was you that talked, because, as we were talking, you were saying about the chakra removal, and I have to say it was all new stuff to me. And I've watched a lot of people talk about doing this process of removing their chakras, and I'm still none the wiser.
Me either, but I mean, the people that have had it done, I've not seen any positive results whatsoever. People just seem to say that they feel nothing, and they feel changed and different, and not in a good way. I mean, I think we should probably discuss about why people would remove the chakras. Absolutely. Because I think it again goes back to the Gnostic belief of the archons and the demiurge that these chakras are overlays.
Yes,
where the energy centers where you get the loose energy drained from you and taken from you in different ways. Again, it's just more fear porn, isn't it? Really,
sure.
Sort of spiritual fear porn.
It is. I agree.
Yeah. And I mean, you've seen that woman online that had it done, and she was in a right state, wasn't she?
She
after
was.
she'd had it done.
It's actually quite disturbing to
quite
watch,
disturbing.
I have to say.
And she was clearly drinking, wasn't she? And
Yes.
is that, was she drinking because she said she wasn't feeling anything? Because
Yes.
her main complaint after having the chakra removal done was that she couldn't feel anything.
Yeah.
So,
and there's quite I mean, she is one example. I suppose for me, she stuck out because of her presentation.
mm-hmm.
There was clearly almost a sense of emptiness. I knew I was looking at, obviously, a human being. I was looking at a person, but there was nothing behind it. It just felt she seemed so empty.
But she was suffering as well at the same time, wasn't she?
Absolutely.
She was clearly suffering with something. It was quite hard to watch, really.
Yeah. And again, while people talk about, the reasoning for the chakra removal, again, it's still not clear to me. So, or the process, how do you remove them?
I think when I've seen it done again on YouTube, it's a visualization where you just visualize these things being removed, and then apparently I think you've still got 3 left over. Is it begins with D, the dancer or something?
Okay.
There's 3 that are still there that apparently are your natural chakras, but the others are implants or overlays that have been put on you to sort of, give you intrusive thoughts or drain energy or so much, stuff. Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a physical human being, as are you. So, but it just doesn't make sense. And there's so much that we've got to discern, especially now.
Oh, absolutely.
These days now, and it's just,
because people are literally saying it is a service that they provide, like obviously a monetary service.
Yeah.
So, people, and I think you need to really think about why, number one, what's wrong? What's the issues? Why have you chosen this? And again, really research into, is this exactly what you want? Because I was listening to somebody who, actually, interesting enough, she clearly didn't, she wasn't the founder of chakra removal, but perhaps one of the first people I saw talking about chakra removal. This is going back maybe 6-7 years. And she was on about, chakra removing, I can, through my process, again, she wasn't clear what the process was for her. She said, I can remove your chakras. And then I saw the same individual on a again YouTube video 2 years later, and she'd done a complete 180. She was like, well, no, I don't remove them. I just, almost keep them a little bit dormant. And I'm like, well, where are you?
Yeah.
What do you do? Are you or are you not? I just really didn't get it. Really didn't get it.
So why would she flip flop like that? Do you think?
Absolutely.
Maybe she's had some negative results with that, and
possibly.
But surely you would say, "Oh, don't do that anymore." Surely if you're a spiritual person, you would come clean and go, "Actually, I was wrong about that." Yeah, that's not something that I, advocate for.
Yeah, but then I suppose you have to realize that in the spiritual world, the same as everybody else, in any other kind of, community of people, there are people that are there for the good of humanity and want to support and heal and educate. And then there's others who want to utilize,
manipulate.
And, a lot of them are getting quite a lot of financial gain from it.
I put it into 3 categories. So there's new souls, old souls, and arseholes.
I like it. I'm with you.
That's the 3 for me.
Yeah.
So I think, which one do they fit into?
Yeah. Ladder, maybe. But it is, and then I wondered, has she changed her tune? Because I listened to someone else who had their chakras removed, and there was a comment that actually they return. I'm not going to say they grow back, but they return.
Oh yes, I've heard
after
that.
I think 2 to 3 year period. So and then I'm thinking, well, there's a couple of things. The brain never stops, by the way. Number one, you clearly can't say you removed them if they're now naturally coming back. So maybe that's why, as you said, she's flip-flopping. But also, my next thing, well, if they grow back, surely they're meant to be there.
Well, if you shave your beard off, it grows back because it's, kind of meant to be there. So that would say it's a natural thing, not a overlay or implant, unless the archons go, "Ooh, let's put them back so we can take more loose."
I don't know. Put them back so we can remove them again. Yeah.
She gets another 25 quid.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more than that, but yeah, it is. Again, it's quite worrying, and I do feel there's an element of the people that go there. They're in such a vulnerable place. It feels. I mean, obviously, watching that, and there's not just her. There's a number of people on YouTube that talk about having it removed and the negative impact it's had on their life. But there's a level of I felt really uncomfortable watching each of them speak, and I wonder, how desperate were they? It feels like it was really.
And you feel like that chakra removal will be the answer to whatever's troubling you.
Absolutely, yeah. So, because what they say is, obviously, when the chakras are removed, these negative entities go with it.
Right.
But. Yeah, and then it felt a little bit like, maybe are you prying, like really, focusing on the vulnerable and the weak and people that don't see any other way out. It felt it
would be easy, wouldn't it, to tell somebody, oh, you've got a negative entity attachment, but if you remove the chakras and pay me X amount of pounds or dollars, whatever, I can stop that happening. I think Laura from Shamanic Self made a good point. This is not a regulated area at all.
Absolutely.
Spirituality, healing, any of these modalities, none of it's regulated. So people could do some real damage because there's no regulation, there's no rules.
And they don't know what they're doing, I think.
And nobody knows what they're doing. This is it. This is true,
And I do, she's quite forceful, isn't she?
Yeah.
Laura, around the negative impact, and that people should not even go there at all, not even consider it.
Like you say, you don't know what you're doing, do you? You don't know what you're doing. It's it's the same as sort of opening yourself up to the spiritual world, and so like with a Ouija board, you don't really know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
To sort of, and you can be attracting any kind of anything.
Absolutely.
And we do know that there are those, it's not all love and light out there, is it? There are those little rascals that do want to, cause mischief in people's lives, and they absolutely do. So you could be opening all sorts of doorways for that. This is why probably a bit of regulation in this field might be beneficial.
I think so. I mean, I think it's a difficult one because
it is, because it's unseen, isn't it? It's esoteric.
Absolutely.
There's
nothing scientific about it. You can't. Do you know what I mean?
You can't prove it in a lab.
Absolutely. It's not exactly. It's not medicine, is it?
You've successfully had your chakras removed, so you can't go. Oh, there you go. There's the photo. There's.
Yeah.
It's too.
I'll keep them in a jar
abstract
for you in case you need them for later. Wait, when we remove organs. There's yours. Like a little rainbow. So it does. I said it does really worry me. And again, getting back to kind of where we started, see, there is a link, people. It may not always be obvious from the start, but we do get there. If we need to work through our chakras to enlightenment, to ascend, if it's not there, where are you going?
I don't know. Nowhere fast.
Absolutely. Nowhere fast. But again, even when the people that we viewed, and we view different, videos, some obviously will go, oh, have a look at this, and we share, but there's a wide net of people that we follow and, we look into and all the rest of it. And I think every one of those that had it were saying the same thing. Yeah. They felt emotionless and empty. Yeah, empty. They were. But there was still their senses still of like sadness and stuff. That was still coming up for them, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And while the chakras were gone, for me, they presented as somebody in the root chakra.
Fear again,
wasn't it?
Fearful and lost.
Yes, completely.
So if the chakra removal was so great, you should be right up there, shouldn't you? The crown chakra.
You should be buzzing.
Well, you should be floating.
Absolutely.
You should be walking on water, and
because that's what the claim happens when you have And again, and maybe again, if there's anyone out there that has had their chakras removed and have had a very positive experience that and have felt a sense of enlightenment for following, please do share anything with us, because again, this is our opinions. We research a lot, but again, we don't know it all by any stretch of the imagination.
No. I've never had my chakras removed, but I must say I did have a spiritual experience back in 2003 that left me feeling very like that sort of, where...
Okay.
That thing that happened with my dad that I told you about years ago?
Oh, of course, yes.
And I wasn't right for 6 months, and I felt like my soul wasn't in my body almost. I just felt 100%. Like an empty shell.
Yeah.
And from feeling just kind of normal, from feeling like that in an instant, it was. I can imagine what chakra removal thing would feel like, and it's frightening. It's frightening because you don't feel like you. You don't feel like you at all, and something's missing, but there's no way to retrieve it. I guess maybe the soul retrieval would come into this sort of thing as well. Maybe that would link in.
Yeah.
But I can imagine it's not a very pleasant experience. And as I say, the people that we saw, again on YouTube that had it done, but there was something not right, was there?
I agree.
Something not right at all.
And the thing is, depending on where we're vibrating at, and for me, everything is frequency and vibration, everything. And depending on where we're at, I think we will attract negative entities. We will attract people, beings that feed off that energy, and particularly when we're in the root chakra, when we're in fear, as you said, survival mode, which is a perfect description of it.
Or you've taken a substance which lowers your frequency.
Absolutely.
Drugs is your main one. Because they often say, through drug taking, these entities can attach and make you do things, and this is when you get people jumping off balconies and doing crazy things that are completely out of character, and that would make sense.
And I think equally, when I've experienced that survival state, when I've been there, I know I can't think properly.
No. There's no clarity, is there?
There's nothing. It just feels like you're walking through treacle. It just feels like this constant. And I know in those moments, I was not myself. I didn't present the way I would have usually presented. And everything felt so dark.
Yeah.
And I definitely know in those moments I had negativity and negative entities around me,
which will affect your choices, won't it, as well?
Absolutely.
It will affect every sort of choice you make and every thought that you have, because I believe that these things can also give you intrusive thoughts.
Oh, 100%. And I remember going to, how would we describe Yvonne? I don't even know how to describe her. She's a spiritual
energy worker,
medium
stroke guru, stroke enlightened being, stroke. She has many titles.
She has many titles. And it would be wonderful
to get her on the
That is our
podcast.
plan. That is our plan at some stage, to speak with her, because I saw her a year, maybe a year and a half ago. That was my very first experience with Yvonne. And I have to say, it was probably one of my most challenging. And again, when I went to see her, because of where I was and the state I was at, and as I said, I was very much in survival, she could see these negative beings around me. And they were literally, she said, you're trying to shine a light. You're trying to, heal and, raise your vibration. But because you're in such a low state, they were literally, I felt like they were sucking the life out of me, and she said, they are like a moth to a flame.
Yeah.
And she said, I've had so many moths, I didn't really have a light. It was so dim and so dark. And interesting working, and I've seen her twice.
I've seen her once.
Yeah. But I think the work you do within that short space of time, really, isn't it?
Well, it's about 6 or 7 hours.
6 or 7 hours. It's quite intense. Short space. I didn't see her for 20 minutes. But I think that because of that first work, oh my God, I was months trying to put in place all of the kind of strategies and kind of where she told me I needed to focus on. She doesn't tell you how to do it, does she? She goes, which I think is good, because I think it has to be
comes from you, doesn't it?
It has to come from within. And I remember messaging her one day and go, show me how to protect myself. She's like, you'll figure it out. I'm like, I don't want to figure it out. Yeah. But because of that, I know I have worked and I now am able to ground myself and protect myself. And I definitely know in the last 6 months, a bit longer, I am vibrating at a different frequency completely to where I was 18 months ago.
So if you had had your chakras removed, because you claim there that in that survival energy, there were beings or something trying to take energy from you, which is the whole reason people get the chakras removed.
Yes. So
what am I trying to say? Is there any validity to it maybe? Or, let's say you instead of seeing Yvonne, you would have had your chakras removed. What do you think would have been the outcome then, instead of the healing that you actually had?
Well, I wouldn't be working it from my heart chakra, which is where I am now.
No. Well, you'd be just an empty vessel, wouldn't you, in effect?
Absolutely. So I have worked through, when we said, kind of gone up that's
vibrational scale.
Absolutely. And I would definitely, and we actually had this conversation earlier, didn't it? And I was saying to you, I feel I'm definitely I'm coming from the heart chakra.
Yeah.
100%. Occasionally I will, the third eye and my intuition, and I'm definitely focusing
on the way up.
On the way up. I'm heading to the crown. But
move on up.
Yeah. And but because of where I am now, and I'm at such peace and love and serenity, I just feel it. I was saying to you earlier, wasn't I, that I'm now wearing green a lot. I feel like, as she says, green ring on and green dress. But that's where I'm at. And I find it really interesting. And I suppose the more we kind of surround ourselves with that vibration, I think you see it in all aspects of your life, from your clothing to who you engage with.
And I think you need to, again, be in that root chakra and work your way up, because there's no testimony without a test, is that, and you do need the dark to see the light.
Sure.
And there's no appreciation of the light without being in the darkness for a while. So it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So you've had to go through that to get to this where you are now, when you won't stay there either. And no doubt you're going to keep going, working the way up, but you wouldn't get there without being there, would you?
Well, that's my personal experience.
And that's the journey, isn't it? That is the journey of, and the sort of the rich tapestry of life that life puts us through. But, you've worked on yourself, you've put the effort in, and you're now green in the heart chakra.
Yes.
So
that's
it all kind of links in, doesn't it? With the last episode that we did about the soul trap, and it's just a rich tapestry that all just comes together quite poetically for me when you combine it all, and you can see it all for what it is.
But I completely agree with you, and I think with spirituality, everything's interlinked, isn't it? One and feeds into the other, and
a web.
It is, and web. I think as you listen to us, you will hear us kind of flit between concepts and discussions, because you can't take them in isolation.
No, there is no isolation, and they all do connect, don't they? It's a spiritual matrix, really, isn't it? But a positive one, not the negative matrix that people talk about, but it is a interwoven, divinely put together matrix of experience, I think, and that's. I
would completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. Yeah. So again, we started again. You will get to know.
We started on the 144,000.
We start here, and now we're on about chakra removals. But I hope you feel that it did flow well in the fact that that needed some discussion. And again, because the chakra removal, I'm saying relatively new. But, it has been
newish, give or take 10 years.
10-ish, yeah. But I suppose in the spirituality world, that's fractal, isn't it, of time. Yeah. So I suppose to kind of, for me, summing it up, I vote for the chakras.
I vote for the chakras. I think they're quite beneficial. Just
Can we get a rap out of that?
I feel a song coming on.
Yeah.
Well, from your experience that you told me about, you can see how it's been beneficial, sort of climbing that chakra ladder.
Yeah.
Almost, because you wouldn't be there, would you, without those other experiences? And I can attest to the same myself with in different ways.
Oh,
so,
of course. Yeah.
And necessary.
And again, I think 144 for me, it fits with it being related to the chakras as well.
Definitely, and with what's going on in the world, I don't know if you've noticed, people, but we do seem to be in some kind of spiritual war. You've only got to look at sort of the inversions that are happening in the world, and maybe that chakra 144, getting that alignment, it also relates to the biblical side of it, because
of course,
once you achieve that alignment, you will be able to help the ones that aren't aligned, because God knows there's a few, and way more than 144,000.
Absolutely.
So, maybe, it's all the same thing, maybe all interlinked. So, maybe the people that do ascend up through the chakras and get that balance will be part of that 144,000 that will help the world if God decides to send his wrath, which it looks like it feels like it's getting close, and it looks like it's getting close. So maybe it's not a laughing matter, is it?
No, and it can be. But again, when you look at the political world,
oh God,
it's fear driven, isn't it?
It's all fear driven.
Of course, we're all in our root chakras.
Root chakra, of course.
So but also I don't know whether you've noticed, but when I'm vibrating higher at a higher frequency, and I would say at the moment very much a heart chakra is vibrating the most for me, you attract like-minded people. So you attract people that are vibrating at that level.
Yeah.
And it's, I suppose it's as you said, it's about that 144,000. Maybe there are those ones that are the ones that are going to help everyone descend. Yeah. When you're around people on a higher frequency, it's palpable.
It is.
So maybe that's all we need to do. Maybe we just need to stay in our higher frequency, the higher chakra systems, and that automatically will, be seen and be felt, and people will want to do work.
Like a beacon.
A bit like that, yeah.
Also, when you were saying you attract, like-minded people, what I found, because I've been doing a bit of work, giving to homeless and stuff, you can affect people when you're in that. So those people that are not doing so well, you're not attracted to them at all. You will go to them.
Yes.
But because you are vibrating at the sort of higher resonance, you will affect them massively. The story I told you about the guy with the trolley.
Yeah.
And it's that as well. So it's not just about attracting sort of like-minded people and having sort of a vibrational echo chamber. It's about helping the other people as well that aren't quite there, and you can give them a bit of hope and light and help them to start their path to get in there as well.
But I think as well, when you're coming from a higher chakra system, a higher frequency, you're not so focused on yourself.
No, you're not.
Whereas I know when I was in survival, in the root chakra, in survival, it's all about how do I get out of this? But
it's a level of narcissism almost, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Because, it's
you can't see
fearful.
anything outside of yourself.
No.
Whereas the further up you go, it's like, oh, I can sit back. Things are good, right? Well, now I can see how I can, how you could help that young guy this week. How we can kind of go and support people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the higher your vibration, the more in tune you are with those around you, and you can see when people are struggling.
And you get sort of the downloads of when to act. I've been given downloads a week. Go here and do this. Go there and do that. And if I wasn't in this sort of higher frequency that I'm in right now, there's no way I would have heard that. No. And because it would have been, I need this, I need that, me.
Yeah.
And I've been all of those things.
Absolutely. Because you go to, when are you going to provide for me before you want me to go out and do it for others?
Exactly.
But again, different energy. You're just happy to go.
Exactly.
Actually, I will follow that. Thank you.
I will go for that.
Yeah.
I will follow that inspiration and do that.
And again, this kind of feeds into law of attraction as well and manifestation. And again, that's another area we are going to focus on because again, it's vast, isn't it?
And it all interlinks.
And
it all interlinks. It's so quite beautiful, really, and again, poetic, really. When you see it from this aspect,
sure.
If I tap down into the root chakra, you're not going to hear those words coming out of my mouth.
No, it's true. It's true.
But here I see it clearly, and it's lovely.
It is.
It's lovely.
It really is. And I think in the world that we're in today, I think we all need to kind of try and raise our vibration. I'm not saying it's easily done, but the more we can raise up, then the better the environment it is for everyone.
Exactly. So don't watch the fear porn on TV.
No.
Don't give any energy to it.
No. Stay away from the news.
That's my advice.
Okay. Right. I think we've...
That's wrapped it up.
I think we've covered quite a bit there, haven't we?
I think we have.
Okay. But again, if you have any questions for us, any comments, we'd obviously love to hear from you. And I suppose it's time to say that's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me too. So please like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Ciao for now.
Bye.